What's good, everyone? It's your boy Salos, back again with the debut of a new video series here on the channel I've had the idea for quite some time now for. Surely I can't be alone here when I'm summoning on the Wings of Fate banner, just trying to get a lovely Hinoka for a flying archer for my flyer team, and instead I get Ennis, and I'm like, that's cool and all, but what do I do with him? And while there are some amazing content creators out there like Phoenix Master 1, Brotel, The Sacred Spear, who put out very in-depth analysis of new units in the game, if you ever look at a unit that's been released like a year ago or something, either those videos are very outdated or you have to resort to game press for ideas. That being said, I've never really wanted to compete with Phoenix Master 1, Brotel, and all those guys who provide amazing content on the new units that we get to the game, because they do their homework and I honestly couldn't recommend better sets than they do. So instead, what I want to focus on are the quote-unquote pity breakers you might get while trying to pull for those new units, because I feel that if you can be generally content with the 5-star unit you get no matter who it is, that you won't feel the need to keep summoning and trying to get that new hero. And I'm not trying to shame anyone, because I'm guilty of this too, that I don't get the focus here. I'm like, dang, it's an Ennis. Well, gotta keep pulling for Hinoka. But in reality, Ennis is arguably just as good as Hinoka. That's not to say that new heroes will never appear in this series. It's just that this is more of a series to be a shout out to the little guys, to the guys that no one is talking about. And at the end of the video, I will be letting you guys know how you can be suggesting heroes for this series, but I'll explain more about that at the end.
Rather than lament what you do not possess, you should treasure what you do.
Wow, that's exactly what I was trying to say, La Rochelle. Thank you. Couldn't say it better myself. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Brave Lucina, the first hero to be introduced in Hero of the Week.
The future is not written. My path is clear. With this lens.
So I chose to kick off this series with Brave Lucina for a couple of reasons. For starters, she was on the legendary banner a few months back, which is when I originally wanted to start this little project. But that just shows how long I've been putting this off. I'm so sorry. But after I sat down and thought about it, a lot of people have Brave Lucina. Even if you didn't get her from that banner like I did, she was a pseudo free-to-play unit because technically you can get her for free if you choose her at the beginning of the game, or if you chose her as your Choose Your Legends hero. And considering how popular she is in Awakening and Smash 4, I'm sure a lot of people chose Lucina. At the time of her debut, she along with the other 3 Brave heroes were all arguably the best units in their respective weapon type. But unlike those other 3 units, she has to be the unit that has aged the worst out of the 4. Contrary to everyone's belief on Brave Roy being the worst Brave hero, he's proven himself to be an amazing defensive team unit, because a 19-might legendary weapon combined with his high natural attack stat and the ability to run offensive skills like Death Blow and Life and Death in the A slot, and having his Sacred Seal slot open to run more Sacred Seals, that's made him a pretty relevant unit that you have to look out for when it comes to arena defense. I'm pretty sure Bravelyn needs no introduction as to how oppressive she still is to this day when we're in this current Armored Emblem disencounter meta. And while most people use Ike as steady breath fodder for their Dragon Emblem teams these days, there haven't been that many Axe heroes released since his debut outside of maybe Winter Crom that can rival his just sheer power and strength. So he's pretty much gone uncontested for that slot ever since his release. At least infantry-wise, because Male Grima.
This is the end. I'm sorry.
Unlike her original counterpart, Brave Lucina sacrifices a lot of her offensive presence to play a more supportive role. And while Brave Lucina and normal Lucina are pretty comparable stat-wise, Brave Lucina has gotten no type of love since her release, while regular Lucina has gotten a Falchion Refine and Sealed Falchion, which adds +5 to all of her stats. I don't think I need to explain why that's busted.
But Zalos, regular Lucina's a sword unit. Brave Lucina's a lance unit. You can't compare the two.
Well, let's compare them to other Lancers we've gotten since then. Since then, we've gotten Harden, Shigure, Legendary Ephraim, just to name a few, that pretty much have a better offensive capabilities than Lucina does. So even in her own category, she's kind of gotten screwed. I know right now it doesn't seem like I'm helping her case as to why you should still invest in her or even care about her, but we're getting to that. But it's equally as important to understand why people don't use her as much as they used to back in August. But my god, we're already 5 minutes in the video and I haven't even got to Lucina herself. So let's not stall any longer, shall we? Let's go right into it. Let's start by taking a look at her stats. She has a pretty impressive offensive stat spread with 34 attack and 36 speed. Most units that have this type of stat spread have no type of defense, regular Lucina included. Her defense is actually 27, which is pretty respectable. I mean, her resistance is pretty crap at 19, but with her 41 HP, that's actually pretty relevant, and I'll explain why that is later on when we get to the builds. On paper, Lucina looks nothing short of amazing, which is what a brave hero should be, but it gets even better when we get to Garaskogel, or does it, should I say. A flat effect that Garaskogel gives is +3 defense, which puts her defense up to 30, which makes it pretty reliable to proc skills like Ignis and Bonfire. It's the second effect that starts to fail Lucina as a unit. She gives +3 attack and speed to any melee units, meaning any sword, axe, dagger, bow units within 2 spaces of her, which sounds pretty nice, but we recently got Corin and Marth who can do the same exact thing, only better because it's to anyone, not just melee units. Specifically Marth though, because he gives +2 to all stats, to all units within 2 spaces of him, and you slap drive attack and speed on him, that's +5 attack and speed to all units, while Lucina is just giving +3 to melee units. Her restriction to buffing strictly melee units is where I start to believe she feels a little dated, but it's actually a pretty nice segue into her first build, which is also her budget build. And just for future reference, the first build is always going to be the budget build, and usually the build that works with any unit, including bad IV units. The second build is for people who might have a few Hectors or Nephinis laying around to use premium builds on, but they're not exactly whales. So it's like the nice little transition between a whale build and a free-to-play build. And the third build is going to be when I cater more towards arena purposes, but I also use any skills in the game. So the builds may be free-to-play, they may be whale-oriented, but pretty much do not go for these builds if you're a free-to-play user, because I will be using some pretty premium fodder for these builds. But for the first build, we're going to want to keep pretty much everything in her base kit, but we're going to add a few skills where the base kit has holes. And not synergy holes, like actual holes, like she has no skill in that slot. For the B slot, we're going to give her Sword Breaker so that the people who have minus speed Brave Lucinas don't have to worry about it being a factor all too much. And also, so we don't have to focus on building up her speed to astronomical numbers. We'll save that for the other builds. It's also important to note that supporting heroes don't engage in combat all too much, but when they do have to engage in combat, they need to make it count. That's why I feel like she should only be fighting fights that she'll win. So putting Swordbreaker into her B slot makes it so that she'll kill pretty much any sword unit, and Sturdy Blow will make it that she gets the attack buff and the defense buff, which is all she needs to kill sword heroes. Aside from a few exceptions like Zelgius and Zephiel, but overall she'll get the job done. Also, you're welcome to replace Aether with Bonfire for consisting purposes. However, Aether is still a really valuable skill for Arena and just for self-sustaining reasons, but it's really what you value more. If you value healing and more safe self-sustainability, go for Aether, but if you value consistency, then go for Bonfire. That's personal preference, really. The only other skill that's mandatory for this set is Drive Attack in the Sacred Seal slot. This makes it so that she's giving melee units +5 attack and speed, which is the equivalent of running life and death on them. And being that it only takes 5 speed to double, that can be the difference between you doubling someone and you not doubling someone. So I think that's pretty important for a supporting unit to do. Like I said, I'm not going to lock you down to a specific IV in this first build, so feel free to use on any Lucina you have. As long as you have Brave Lucina, this build should be fine for you. The next build is when we focus less on supporting and more on going in and going hard. To do this, we have to say goodbye to Garrus Gogol and hello to Slaying Lance. This should come as a surprise to absolutely no one if you play an Arena, because Slaying Lance is arguably the most offensive lance in the game, so it's pretty obvious for you to give this to Lucina. For this, you're going to want a plus speed Lucina and preferably minus HP. The reason I specify minus HP is because Slaying Lance is going to give you an additional +3 HP when you refine it, and we want to keep her HP as close to 40 HP as possible because we are running Brazen Attack Defense in the A slot. The further you stray from 40 HP, the harder it is to consistently run Brazen skills, because at 40 you only have to lose 10 HP, which isn't hard to do at all. So the further you get from that, the harder it is to run. In the B slot, we are running Desperation, and I know that in this day in Arena, it's hard to know when to use Desperation on a build because we have so many fast units in Arena. But just remember, 42 is when you actually avoid doubles, and 47 is when you start to double yourself. So as long as you're able to reach 47 speed, no matter if it's naturally or through buffs, as long as you can get to 47, you're good. Does anyone miss the time when you had to only have 35 through 40 speed to double someone? Oh, how times have changed. Thanks, power creep. I have Attack Smoke listed in the C slot, however it can easily be exchanged for Speed Smoke. I went with Attack Smoke originally because it has pretty good synergy with the Brazen and Desperation, but like I just said, that you need 47 speed to actually double. So Speed Smoke will help you actually reliably double things, but Attack Smoke will help you safely get into the range. We do have 2 free units that we have to get those skills in Takumi and Kaze for speed and Attack Smoke respectively. So it's really just a matter of what you have availability as your fodder and what you personally prefer. However, I do think that you should be wary about creating this build because with the release of Swift Mola Gear, it shows that Intelligent Systems isn't completely against going back to these Brave weapons and making them more in tune with the current meta. So build this with caution. But seeing that Garrus Gogol is a support weapon, it's not too far-fetched to believe that the potential upgrade is going to be support-oriented, which in that case will be more in tune with the free-to-play build I made. So I think you should be good with this build either way. I do think that this build works best with plus speed, but maybe plus attack can work as well, and possibly plus defense. But keep in mind that if you go with plus defense, that you might want to go with the defense refine and the defense +3 sacred seal, because that way you can get to 44 defense and probably switch out desperation for a quicker post, because 35 speed is fast but not fast enough. The last build is the best of both worlds, when we pretty much take the defensive aspect of the first build and the offensive aspect of the second build and mash them all together. This is going to go back to Garrus Gogol because, like I said, this is focused on Arena, and legendary weapons score better than the other weapons when it comes to Arena scoring, so you always want to use your legendary weapon if possible. For this one, it's a little more flexible. Any good IV Lucina can run this build. Just make sure that it's plus attack or speed. I'm highlighting plus speed because that's what I have and that's what I have experience with. And I think that, like I said, doubling is really important in Arena, so preferably plus speed. Generally, Wrath and Brazen skills have amazing synergy, so You want to run these two in conjunction with one another, because once you're in Brazen range, you're also in Wrath range, and at that point, you're just unstoppable. With plus speed, you're at 49 speed and 57 attack, and at plus attack, you're at 60 attack and 46 speed. Not to mention you still have 30 defense, so you can still run Bonfire if you want to, meaning you can stall until Bonfire just charges itself with Wrath and then you just blow faces off. But because we're still rocking Garrus Golgo, we still give plus 3 attack and speed to all melee units, so let's take advantage of that. In the C slot, we're giving her a dual spur skill, spur attack and speed, which makes it plus 6 attack and speed. Mix that with a dual rally skill like attack and speed, that's plus 9 attack and speed to all your allies. So in short, this build is strong, it scores well in Arena, and it supports your team. What more can you ask for in a build? As you can see, you have a lot of options with Brave Lucina. I mean, she may have fallen off a little harder than the other Brave heroes, but you can still make her work. So if you get a Brave Lucina, think about this video, and hopefully I've inspired you to use your Brave Lucina if you have one.
What's next? Hi.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around me to the end
It's
of
all
this
for
video.
you.
It means so much for you guys after you watch my videos. If you guys have followed me on Instagram, you know I've had this idea for a long time. I just never really got time to sit down and just make the freaking video. Because the Legendary Heroes video took so long to make, and I got behind on Julia's video, and then also the other Bound Hero battles, so
We
yeah, it's
won't
been a
give
lot.
up.
But I do try to make this a weekly series, so if there's a hero on your mind or someone you have in your barracks that's 5-star, you're just looking at like, what do I do with them?
Understood.
Let me know. But for next week, I'm probably going
Do my
to be
best.
choosing between Takumi, normal Takumi that is, and Marth, because there's a lot of Marth hype, because you guys first never alt. So, if you want to see those two, let me know which one you prefer to
go.
see. I'll probably be doing a poll on my Instagram page. I'll leave that link in the
Okay.
description as well if you want to follow me there. But with that, I'm about to get out of here. So let me know what hero you want to see tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week. But thank you guys so much for supporting me, for watching my videos. It means so much to me when you guys leave all the likes, all the comments. It makes me feel all fun inside. So I'll see you guys next time, and thanks again for watching.